Okay, we have started. It's 10 past the hour. We'll start, and people joining us will find us on the way. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is good, energized, and strong, and motivated. I can see thumbs up. That's good. And I can see Bright smiling. I'm very sure he's good.
I am.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Enoch, and I'm the host tonight. And we're going to discuss about a very special, important topic with our panel. So one of our panelists got some hiccups, I'd say some hiccups along the way. So it was a conflict of time zone, but we decided to move on with our panelist, one of the panelists who made it today. Thank you.
But he will be with us on part 2 next Sunday, right?
Yeah, so he will be on with us next time. A very brilliant man, experienced quite a serial entrepreneur. Okay. Welcome, Bright. Bright Jonathan, welcome. Coach, I call him Coach Jonathan Bright. He's an international award-winning consultant specializing in business and leadership. I know quite well Bright right from Africa, and he's now in North America with his passion for young people. Mostly mentoring them in leadership and business. So welcome, Bright.
Thanks, man.
And I'm sure you've done a lot of business consulting and invested in some of the businesses. Thank you. So tonight we have a very important topic, and the topic is, what are the opportunities and challenges of navigating African markets? Like from the outset, can you tell us the opportunities, the market dynamics in the African context? Like, what is your experience, sharing your experience working in business consulting and coaching? What has been your experience with interacting with so many African entrepreneurs, both in diaspora and even back home in Africa?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so very much for the question. This is a topic that is very close to my heart. Pretty much I have extensively worked over the past 6 years with entrepreneurs. Not only the greatest part about me working with entrepreneurs, business leaders in some parts of the world, like Africa, like North America. The greatest part about working with business leaders and business minds and decision makers in Africa. I'm not just limited to business. My focus is business, but I work with a diversity of guys, including political people as well. My greatest experience is this is a continent. This is a continent that is still new to a lot of stuff. This is a continent that for whatever reason about the past history has taken a time to catch up with the world. This is a continent that is still brand new in terms of what technology, the level of technology there. This is a continent where young people are awakened right now to the understanding that if anything is going to move forward, if anything is going to change, you've been seeing the wave over the past decades or so. Young people are realizing that if anything is going to change in the right way, we're not going to rely on somebody who is a politician, somebody who is in power, and we just going to take matters on our hands. But unfortunately, as we'll be talking about challenges as well, is some of these young people realize that, people who really rule, people who really have power on the continent, even worldwide, are not people who are in political offices. People who
Yeah.
really rule are the people that you don't know, that you don't know. Like
Yeah.
these are people who are in the shadow. These are people who actually puts those guys in office, who supports their work. These are exactly the people that make things work. So unfortunately back home, unfortunately in Africa, me personally being from Congo and being from Central Africa, I've worked with in couple of Central African countries.
Yeah.
There are a couple of people that you don't see, that you don't know, that you've never heard their names. They're not even in the media. These are the people that make the decisions about in the back end. I'm literally going to say some dangerous things here, some dangerous things probably for my life and probably for those who are listening here. I'm going to offend lots of people today, but unless you accept, you become willing for being offended by a couple of truths and facts that you can double check by yourself, you will not really go past that fog, that smoke screen that the media is selling to us, and then you just going to take it personal. So before I move on with probably a next question, I want to say something. It's a quote that one of my clients told me a couple of years ago. This is a business person, and back then I was so passionate about working with decision makers, business leaders who have already succeeded.
Yeah.
Learn whatever I can learn from them and bring that to young people who are probably starting off with life right now, college students and young adults who are still seeking their way in the professional or in the job market. And then he told me, he said, powerful people cannot afford to educate people that they oppress. Because once you get truly educated, you don't ask for power. You just go and take it.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. Powerful people cannot afford to educate the people that they oppress. Because once you get truly educated, you don't ask for power. You just go
Yeah.
and take it. So pretty
Yes.
much
Yeah.
most of these people will not enjoy that I get to share this information. That's why I said it's going to be some dangerous information. Probably I'm going to be sharing here. So this is in a nutshell an intro of what we're going to be discussing here.
Sure. Thank you, Bright. And the cost of doing business, mostly navigating has a lot of issues. There are political issues, there are political factors you navigate, there are market structural fallacies you navigate,
Mhm.
perception issues you navigate. But I want to hear, like, despite all those challenges, there are always opportunities that I want to go to my first very question. What has been your experience like in doing business? You've answered it very well, like which meeting different people from different backgrounds and their perception in doing business. I like when you say that the powerful people that normally drive things, you never hear them in the media, you never hear them, but they are powerful, they are there. So one is, how do we reach those powerful people? How do we exploit those powerful and bit of sacred people? How do we tap them for the benefit of society? Because this business, it's also not looking it at an cutthroat capitalist manner, but looking
Mhm.
in the angle of changing society, because that's what we want. We don't want like massive uh, factories, industries, and we leave our people behind. So looking at how do we tap those sacred human beings, so-called powerful, to the advantage of society.
This is the $1 million question. How do you type my work is entirely built on finding out those people and getting to look at the world through their eyes. And
Right.
once how I'm going to answer the how later, the how you actually get to those people. But I'll start first of all debunking couple of couple of misconception that young people or people who are trying to make it in life, those myths and those beliefs that are limiting for them,
Yeah.
from, to getting from one step to another.
Yeah.
Working in Burundi, Rwanda, Congo, Kenya, Uganda, young people right there in Central Africa, you'll hear things like, all right, parents still are teaching their kids to go to
Yeah.
school, get a better job, and get married, build a family, and make it in life. This is this is totally the belief. When you come to the West, you hear parents, still the same parents. Can we? Thank you very much. So when you come to the West, you hear now the advice is slightly different, but it's pretty much the same. You hear
Yeah.
parents saying, "Yeah, go to school, become, get a government job, and then go get a government job. This is the holy grail." So when you get a government job, and that's for them, these are the benefits, you will be covered, your health, you'll be insured. It is much more stable than other jobs with companies, etc. And it's, at least if you're looking for stability, I understand them from their perspective, because when you live in the West, you have so much responsibility. The West is literally built on debt.
Yeah.
I'll get to touch that later. The West is built on debt.
Yeah.
People are sold at the idea that you can afford whatever is it that you want to afford, as long as you can pay it for the next 10 years, the next 5 years, the next 30 years. So this is why it's the capitalistic world. So now back home, we still have the advice: go to school, get a better job, and then get settled in life. And you know what? These powerful people exploits that. They
Yeah.
exploit the fact that the majority of people that you're going to run into, their thinking is, I will go study, get a job in that company that is already established, and then I
Mhm.
will spend my life, I will give 30 years of my life working for a company that I don't even own slightly, that I don't even own 1%, or whatever. So
Yeah.
that they exploit that. That's why you've been seeing now, like in Central Africa, we have a wave of professional internship. So they tell those young adults, they tell those young students, you know what, we will come, we will give you we will give you an internship. You're going to add that in your resume, and then this is going to be appealing and attractive to the next employer. And the next employer also tells you, you know what, you will start with the first 6 months probably unpaid internship, or we will pay you in a peanut. We will pay you in peanut rate or something, but they're exploiting you in the maximum, knowing that you're actually in their mercy. Because would you rather stay at home and not do that? And people choose to do that. And
Yeah.
that's why, for example, whenever there are some protests, whenever there are some people are unpleased with their political leaders, it is so easy now to line up to recruit young people who are just starting off in life, those young adults, to go loot and to go do some horrible stuff and destroy the country, destroy the infrastructure that is in place. These are pretty controversial stuffs I'm going to say here. It is easier to sell somebody who doesn't have a job, who doesn't have a source of income for his family. It is easy to sell them at the idea that, hey, go in the streets,
Yeah.
go take out of power that person that you see in the media, that face that is in front. And
Right.
we have
Right.
seen that for the past like 60 years, 50 years that we've been, a couple of African countries have been independent. What is the strategy that we've been using? When something is not working, guess what? We take the guy who is the president, the guy who is right there standing on power, we take them out, And then guess what? We're going to replace them with the exact same person who knows no other model than the one that the
Very
predecessor
good.
had. And guess what they'll be doing? They'll be loved by the people when they're coming. Yeah, you're liberating us. And then when they gets there, the system is rigged and they get exactly in the same mold.
Yeah.
And they end up what? Mimicking and
Thank you.
modeling exactly what the other guy that was doing that was there. And guess what? What will be the solution again? Let's go in the streets. Let's take them out. Let's replace them with another person. So now there is an ingrained belief in families. I go so hard on families, but because very soon I'm going to build a family myself. And then I pay so much attention to that. And sometimes when I discuss with my fiance about how we're going to raise our kids, and we run into this kind of beliefs. Okay, should we give our kids everything that we've not been given, or should we teach our kids to be entrepreneurial and say, okay, yeah, that you love wearing those shoes, right? Okay, why not instead of buying the Nike shoes, why don't we work on buying Nike stocks, Nike shares? So even though you own 0.0001%, at least you're owning 0.0001% of Nike, instead of liking the Coke, just drinking Coke and etc. Why don't we find a way to invest a little amount of money today to buy a small portion of everything that we consume? So this mindset is not there yet.
Comes to my so the problem you're saying, it's not the problem of the top, it's a problem starting from. So the solution is bottom up, if I got you well.
The solution is both way. I'm not standing here and saying the solution is either bottom up or top down. The solution is multidimensional. So now, first of all, the thing that we need to understand is that the number one key to solving a problem is realizing there is one. And then the problem that there is not only these guys who are in power exploiting uneducated people. When I'm saying uneducated people, I don't mean people who did not go to school and who don't have a college degree. I mean the general population is probably uneducated about where does the power really comes from. Is it really the guy that is in office that literally has power? Sometimes they wear both hats, but they're not the only person. So for you to see where the power goes, where the power comes from, you need to ask yourself, where does the money go? You follow the money, that's why I love business so much, because I realize that, if you go in the street and protest, it might look good in the eyes of the media. We will come up with hashtag on Twitter, and then we'll go in the street and say, yeah, the change is happening. But guess what? There's no follow-up to that. There's no systemic follow-up to that. So change really happens when you decide to tackle the system. And most of the time it happens in the dark. Most of the time it happens on tables where the media is not invited. So what I mean by that is, so that's why I focus on business, because I know, if you and I say, hey, Enoch, let's start investing in that small business, let's build it. And then we invite Frank, our friend, and say, Frank, let's invest in business. We invite another friend of ours and say, hey, let's invest in business. Let's start very small, right? Let's just start servicing this portion of the population. But when you see that, guess what it does to us? First of all, next time somebody comes to me and say, hey, let's go in the streets, let's go loot, let's go march, I will think twice. Why? Because I already have an interest in that country that I want to protect. Because pretty much if I have a business running there, I will not give my time to go loot, to go protest, and to go do some horrible stuff. We all know how protest ends these days, right? I will not do that, because I'll be thinking twice. I'm like, probably these people who are going to get hurt are some of my clients. Probably those people who are going to get hurt are my employees, are the people that help me make that work. Probably that business we're going to destroy is going to be my business. So instead of just being manipulated by somebody who comes in, okay, here's the other thing we actually use in Africa to get people to be super unpleased with the person in power just because he's not from our tribe, just because he's not from our ethnic group, and say, yeah. And then those guys, they're very smooth talker. They come, they touch where it hurts the most. We know that in the past, our ethnic groups, our tribes have been conflicting. And guess what? They're coming just on the micro level, on the country level, they're using that to divide us. So me thinking about it and somebody coming, talking to me, it is easier to recruit somebody who is not dreaming of owning or controlling anything, who is not dreaming of starting probably a business and interest in the country. It is easier to recruit that person to that mindset and to that ideology than it is to recruit somebody who's already got something going. So the number thing,
that comes to my next question, actually.
Just let me just wrap up on that point, right?
Yes.
So number one, it gives you a certain sense of you thinking twice before you get to do any stupid stuff. Don't get me wrong. I respect those people who demand change by being advocate, by going in the streets, by showing that they're unpleased. I respect that. But number two thing it does to you here, in 1 year, you can start a business, you can start something. In 1 year, it may look small. It might not have an impact at all. But guess what? It's contributing in paying the taxes. It's contributing in paying the public services. 10 years from now, it's going to be way bigger than it was 1 year when I started, if I stay consistent and persistent to that. So guess what? If I get with that mindset, if Enoch, you get with that mindset with your business, 5 years from now, we merge and then we partner, we will start building such an influential voice that tomorrow, 10 years, 20 years from now, we're going to sit in those seats of those people who are making decision. But thank God right now, we're open-minded. We know what changes countries, what are the good thing to do. We will actually chart the things in the right way. So you see, I'm not saying get those people off of there and replace them with the exact same people who have the same mindset as they have. I'm saying, young people, come on, let's reason together. Let's combine our efforts together so that 5 years from now, or in the next 10 years, we can literally be sitting with pretty strong voices, not just going in the street, but we now own capital, we own estates, we own businesses, and we realize now, guys, that our country has not been where our country needs to be. Let's come up together. So this is where my thinking is going.
I see your point. So I see, like, you're saying that I could sense potential in what we're saying. You say that African markets in particular, there are a lot of potentials, a lot of opportunities. And I want to look at it in a business perspective. What are some of the opportunities that exist in the African market that are so unique to the rest of the world, that can be exploited by either young entrepreneurs or even big portfolio investors? What are those key, investment opportunities that exist in a unique manner?
So trust me, when you ask me that question, my heart bleeds, because we as Africans are the last people who actually get to realize the potential we have. But the problem is sometimes we are trained and educated to keep looking in that direction and say we're the poorest continent on earth, and then there's nothing we can do. But now most people join this conversation with phones. You have smartphones that you're joining this conversation with. And first of all, there wouldn't exist those smartphones if we didn't have cobalt and coltan coming probably from the mines of Congo. And then these are opportunities, unique stuffs that the world gets to gaze at Africa and say, we can exploit that and sell them at the idea that we will give them foreign aid. And then in exchange with foreign aid, That's the addiction that African entrepreneurs have, that I can start a business and raise fund, instead of saying a business person and entrepreneur does not raise fund in terms of people giving them money so that they can do whatever it is that they're doing. Entrepreneurship is all about you creating a product and have an exchange, a conversation with somebody who's willing to pay the product. That's how you raise the money. But our entrepreneurs in Africa are wrecked, they are paralyzed at the idea. And don't get me wrong, I've been part of that. I've been part of creating programs that start, for example, a context and competition that gets to give entrepreneurs money instead of having them go and create meaningful products and service and transform and turn that into a profitable business. This is what all these guys, these guys who are in power, who are in control right now, they have built their businesses from ground up. There was nobody who gave them a competition and say, you guys will get this grant when you win this competition. And guess what? Now entrepreneurs, instead of focusing 100% of their time in creating a product and a service that is marketable, they focus their time 100% of their time focusing on how can I create a product and that I can give a very nice speech in the next competition so that I can win that grant. And their life becomes that creating products that will appeal to the competition, I don't say competition like the people who are doing the same thing as you. I'm saying those programs that get to give you money because you present a good idea. This is it looks good on the surface, but this is one thing that is wrecking our entrepreneurs in Africa. And all of a sudden, they cannot compete with the world, because in the world, in the West, if you want to get something, yes, there are institutions that can give you grant, but you need, first of all, to create a business that people are willing to pay money for. So when I look at that, I realized, to answer your question of what are the opportunities.
Before you go, I want to follow up on I want to follow up a little bit, then you can jump in. I want to ask you about, should African entrepreneurs be judged on the model of the Western way of doing business, or can't African entrepreneurs, and I am not asking like an entrepreneur, but I am just engaging. Can't we create a new model? Is it a must that we should, raise funds the way the West does other parts of the world? Can't we have our model of creation? Like, what's your take on that?
Okay, so my take on that is, business, at the core of business is offer and demand. Supply and demand. I'm sorry, I'm from a French speaking background, so that's why in my mind it's l'offre, la demande. So supply and demand. This is at the core of every business, whether you're in the West, whether you're in Africa, wherever you are. If there is no supply and demand, there is no business. It's just a facade that is created to appeal to social media, but there's no real business, right? If there is no one of the richest people in Africa is Dangote. This guy is just in the, he produces cement, right? There is a huge supply, there is a huge demand of building infrastructure. And guess what? He doesn't go and advertise that on social media. He doesn't go and, probably in the past days, he started giving some talks and, sharing his secrets. But this guy has been in the dark, in the shadow for quite a long time, building his empire. And that was not about, and even though you bring that cement idea to a competition, it's not going to go to make it through. Trust me, it's not going to make it through, because it's not appealing enough, it's not innovative enough to appeal to the judges so that they can say, oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. But on the flip side of it, this is the idea that actually gets to build wealth and to make a lot of money. So look at it that way. So should we build a different system? The system is there, but we're just focusing on what we can see here now and touch. Because if we do a contest and then you take a picture of me with a big check and say I got $5,000, it taps that part of me that's egoistic part of me that say, oh yeah, I'm a little bit famous now, and now I'm making money off of just selling my idea instead of going and obeying to the law of business, which is supply and demand. So people that I respect on like in Africa or in the West, business people that I respect are the people who found a totally different way to raise money.
Yeah.
And how do they raise money? They don't raise money off of competition and contest. Yeah, they can do that once or twice, but they spend the rest of their time now meeting needs. They spend the rest of their time now making sure their products or their services is actually into the supply
Yeah.
and demand cycle. So these people, instead of raising money by going to a competition, to a contest, what they do is they call capital. They go to their uncles, they go to their friends, they go to the bank and say, hey, oh yeah, so this is the idea that I have. I'm not coming to ask for a grant, I'm coming to ask for a loan, right? I'm
Mm.
asking for a loan. That's where I was saying in the beginning that the West is built on debt. There are business loans here. Banks don't come up and give you a check and say, haha, free money, you can use that grant, you have such a brilliant idea, go and do it. No, 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 no. You come to them, they qualify you, they give you a loan. So when an entrepreneur lives with the fact that the money that I'm using right now is not a grant that I received when I'm building when I'm selling my idea, this is a loan that I'm going to pay back. Otherwise, I will be in court. Otherwise, my house can be taken. Or, if I don't do that, if I don't make sure that this product works and that I sell it to this business, my whole life is going to get wrecked because I'm not paying that back. So in
Yeah.
Africa, until we reach a level where we can actually collaborate with institutions and gets to a point where we're saying, now, instead of raising capital by giving you grants and donation, we will actually go see your uncle, sell them the idea and say, hey, I'm not asking for your money because I'm not giving it back. I'm asking
Yeah.
you to give me this capital. I'll give you 10% of my company. I'm coming
Yeah.
to, I'm
So
coming to,
coming to that, Bright. Hold on to that. You said this. You said entrepreneurship is about supply and demand. Can you break that one in a simple terms, like
okay.
ordinary entrepreneur from any part of the world can understand? How do,
Supply. Mhm.
how do you actualize supply and demand to create a formidable force for business?
Powerful. Great question. I'll give an example of an entrepreneur that I worked with for a couple of years in Burundi, for example. Um, the guy, what he does, he takes wastes, right? He takes the wastes and then transform them into charcoal,
Yeah.
and then he sells those charcoal as energy to reduce people household expenses on charcoal, because his product literally cuts by about 50 to 60% what you spend on a normal day to buying charcoal made of woods, and then so that you can put food on the table. So guess what, if I was spending $1,000, like 100, 1,000, let's say I was spending $10 on buying charcoal in Africa, people still rely on, rudimental ways of, energy to cook. And then
Yeah.
if I was spending $10 a day just on the charcoal, this guy brings a product that achieves the same goal, if not better, but he sells those products for $6. So what does that mean? It means that the $4 you can invest it in something else, doing something else, but I
Yeah.
supply the exact thing you need to put food on the table for $6. And then what was he doing? He was just a normal young guy, and say, oh yeah, there's an issue of waste. instead of taking those waste and dumping them in the lake to go pollute it, and then instead of cutting trees to go make charcoals,
Yeah.
you know what? I will take those waste, transform them into charcoal, and I will even make it affordable and make profits off of it. And these are businesses that I respect. These are businesses that I would say I'm investing in because I believe that this is
Yeah.
meeting a certain need. So where's the supply? The demand is, households will always, every day, all day. There will not be one day where we'll just be like, oh, nah, we're not
Yeah.
going to eat anymore.
They
We're
always
good
cook,
for life. All right,
regardless
we're
of whether
good
they
for
have
life.
food or not.
Cook every day, right?
Yeah.
No longer food on the table. Oh, we
Yeah.
set for life. Like give us the okay, I was going to say about the give us a certain pill that we can swallow, and then
Yeah.
and then we're good for life. No, households will always put food on the table every day. So this is
Yes.
there is a huge demand to have charcoal so that we can put food on the table every day.
Okay.
So now
That's good.
this guy comes and supplies the exact same thing that achieves the
Yeah.
exact same goal,
Yes.
and then just in a very effective and affordable way. So in that, everybody's happy. He has a
Yeah.
company that will still be working in the upcoming years, and households are happy that they're saving money off of the energy that they use in the house. So this is a typical
Absolutely.
example of supply and demand. He supplies the product, which is called kabiof. He supplies the product which is meant to be used, for example, in those households, and there's still a growing demand on his product. So this is what I meant with supply
By
and demand. There
supply
is a
and demand.
transaction.
Thank you. I like that. One of the things is we have to break this to a point that is easy to understand, like supply and demand. You brought an example of a charcoal, people selling cheap charcoal to people, regardless
Mhm.
whether people get food or not, they'll always cook. So
They will
that's
always cook.
a demand. So you have to source a supply. And that's actually so a lot of businesses in Africa. There have been reports, even starting from the report done by the current president of African Development Bank, Adesina. So he said that the future of African billionaires, they're not going to come from industries like factories, like you hear a lot of friends saying, "Oh, I am going to China, to buy stuff. I am going to India to buy stuff." But he said the future of African billionaires is in agriculture. And when you see a lot of startups, a lot of like businesses model, they're oriented towards like industries and stuff. There's little in agriculture. Then how do we size? How do we exploit this um, potential? A sleeping giant multi-billion business like agriculture. What should be changed? Because in the mindset of many our young people, even some people who are a bit older, is agriculture is not for them. It's not an elite business. It's a business for those who didn't go to school. How do we change this mindset?
Oh man, when I think about that, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to because I've been thinking the exact same way at a certain point of my life when I didn't realize the supply and demand mindset. Because
Yeah,
where you can see there is the most demand, and then you can come up with a solution to supply, that's where the wealth, that's where the money, that's where everything is. How do we change that? Oh man, it is such a tedious job. It starts with conversations like this. It
yes,
starts by you literally, instead of you and me talking about it, we literally decide and say, hey, Enoch, let's go back home, rent a land, and then let's go cultivate rice. Let's go and cultivate something. And then we rent that land, and then we start selling it. we start selling the products that comes off of that. It starts by me and you doing that. And I'm
Yes.
working with a couple of guys who are right there on the land. Unfortunately, I can't be at multiple places at the same time, but I'm working and I'm talking to people who are into agriculture and telling them, okay, so what's your capacity right now? And I'm like, they're like, yeah, I can produce a ton of rice. This is just an example. I can produce a ton of rice in 3 months. And I'm like, okay, what would it take to produce 2 tons? And they're like, yeah, we just need money to rent a little bit more of space. I'm like, okay, so I'm investing that money in so that, you know, we can share the profits later on. What
Yeah.
happens here? What happens here, I invest in my money and then I keep a watch on that. And then that will mean we'll give more people jobs back home. And then we'll have some young people now who are focusing on that. And trust me, this dude who said, okay, sorry for calling him dude, it's probably a respectable person. This person who said that the future billionaires in Africa are
And
gonna
this is the president of African Development Bank.
or all right. Yeah,
Yes.
respect to
No,
respect to you,
of
sir.
course.
Who said that? I respect that. Why? Because trust me, if there's one thing I learned in this pandemic, is that if there is no food, bro, if there is no food, people will die way more of hunger than
COVID.
dying because they are because this is a very controversial thing. They can shut your channel just because of me saying that. And then it's like more people in Africa died of hunger than there are people who died of COVID.
Yes.
This is the sad truth. More people died of hunger. More people were killed because they broke the lockdown restriction to go search for means to put food in the table. And on the streets, they got shot because they were walking in the street. What does that tell me? That there was no enough supply of food that everybody can get it at an affordable price,
Yes.
at an affordable price so that they can put food on their table. And guess what? This is not going to change whether we have a pandemic for the upcoming couple of years or not. Food will always be on demand. Food will
Exactly. So
always and always be on demand. But unfortunately, the social media and then the perception again, as you said, we are raised to see, when we were kids, like who are the people who are going to work in a field. To There were people
farmers.
that probably, what they were telling us is like these people didn't go to school, that's why they're working on that. And then nobody taught us about supply and demand. Nobody opened our eyes enough to the obvious thing that we need food every day on the table. Nobody
Yeah.
opened our eyes to that.
Exactly.
So now how we change that
Mhm.
is not, yeah, let's have the conversation while we are applying the same
Doing
action,
something. Yes.
while we're doing something. Yeah, this is the model that works. That instead
Good.
of us coming and blaming, social media is probably the greatest invention in the world, but nobody shares on Instagram a picture of them going to check on their field. Nobody shares a picture of them on social media that's they are grinding, they are grinding and on a rice field or on a corn field, of themselves in which they invest. Nobody posts everybody gets to post the pictures where they're slaying, where they just bought those new shoes.
Cool, man. It's cool.
The
Say
cool,
20,
the
2020.
cool
Anyway,
2020. Everybody posts those pictures.
yeah.
In
So
reality, what do you
we're
eat
kind of
after you post those pictures?
yeah, we're kind of running a bit of time, and I would want to hear what the audience is, the ideas about that. But before, just one question, and we go to our audience who have preciously given their time to listen. So our audience sums up, we are still together. We are really considering you. So one question, what should be done differently to boost this immense potential? There's a report wrote by World Bank that Africa, sleeping giant, oh, you know, in question, Africa is a sleeping giant. So what should be done differently? Uh, because politics, for those who don't study politics, there is what we call political economy. So politics really, in developing countries, politics determines business. Yet in developed countries, it is the economy that determines politics in most cases. So how do we, treat our economy, I mean our politics, to make it suitable for businesses? What should be done differently? Real quick, Bright.
Real quick here, this is just the first part of the thing. We
Yeah,
have another second part next Sunday. And as I was talking about that, before answering that question, you know, in Africa, again, we are taught not to, you know, even in churches. I grew up in a church where somebody, if you're getting involved in politics, it's like you're an outcast. Don't get me wrong, I'm a pastor's kid. My dad is a pastor. And then I know that I've been raised in a household where, even though they wouldn't say it, but business people, politicians are viewed as people who are not spiritually savvy,
yeah,
spiritually it's like they're the people that they look down at them because they have two wives, three wives, and they have multiple kids, and then they forget, actually behind the back they are actually the ones that supply as well. They give their money to build those churches, but they don't call them out. So this is the other thing. So before I answer that question, the easiest way, let's not say easy, the simplest way to do something is to model something that works.
yeah,
But my dad told me when I was a kid and said, if you want to get at a certain position, go find people who are sitting where you already want to sit, go listen to them. This is what he told me. So now I'll be talking about, um, um, real quick here. There's a documentary out there. I don't know if it's been taken down. It's called The Men Who Built America. Go watch that documentary.
we were watched it last some time. Yeah,
I'll just give a resume, just a summary of what The Men Who Built America is all about. The Men Who Built America is a documentary that's talking about how the people who were into business, influenced even the politics back in the early days of America being built. So they talk about, for example, these people were focusing on specific industries. Let's talk about Theodore Vanderbilt. This guy was literally, he started with carrying goods from one coast to another coast, but using water. Like he was sailing on the ocean, but he ended up finding out that, oh man, we can actually build railroads and we can connect one point of the country to another point of the country while covering also the point in between. In that way, we can make more profit than just sailing it from point A to point B without stopping at a certain port.
yeah,
This guy focused on a specific demand here. The demand was to ship products from one point to another point, which later on as well became shipping people from one point. Okay, like the transportation from one point to another point. So some of the railroads that you go and find in the US were built back in those days where Theodore Vanderbilt came up with the idea and started a business around that. Two, let's talk about a man called, now most people heard their name. It's Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller. If you hear the name Rockefeller right now in the world, that's such a big name. These people own banks. These people have generational wealth. Well,
yeah,
I tend to ask my girl, my fiance, I said, yeah, ask me what I want to do with you. She thinks I'll say something corny, something something corny, or something, that's romantic or anything. I say, yeah, I want to build generational wealth with you. So I get, the first time I told her that, she was taken aback. She was expecting I was going to tell her anything. So these guys own generational wealth. So John D. Rockefeller was in the oil business. That was energy back then. There was no electricity. The oil was relied
Yeah.
on for energy, for light, for resources and everything. This is the land again. A third person in the documentary they're talking about is Carnegie. If you go in the US now, there are multiple universities, there are multiple universities, there are multiple libraries that were actually donated by Carnegie. That it's because Carnegie was in the steel business. All the skyscrapers, all the big bridges that are in the US, it's because this guy just focused on say, I'm going to provide steel that will build the infrastructure of this country. And there are multiple guys. One last guy is called JP Morgan. JP Morgan, there's a more JP Morgan bank. JP Morgan was the banker. He controlled the money. You guys made your money there, and then you come and deposit in his bank, and he uses that money again to lend it to
Right.
you.
Right.
Created the whole
Sorry to
banking
interrupt.
system. Yeah.
You're not answering my question.
This is just the foundational to your question, and saying, how do we change the politics? How do we change the
Yes.
mindset? Where do we start?
Yes. The,
So what
go
I'm
through
saying
it.
here,
Yeah.
what I'm saying here, if you don't pay attention to politics determine the price of the rice that you have on your plate,
Yes.
whether you like it or not. So now, how do we change that? We change that in multiple ways. If you're going to school and you're going to study law, go
Yes.
study law and get interested in business so that you can be one of the policy creators that can regulate a certain industry. I get to work with a platform that is called Ndaku. This platform is about real estate. It's about
Yes.
revolutionizing real estate in Congo. And then, so that's an app where you can go to and find houses, properties all over Congo. So
Yeah.
I'm working with these guys. So number one, you start, if you're going to school, if you're studying psychology,
Yeah.
start thinking about, how do I create a cabinet that will have clients that will be willing to pay for it. I'm not going to apply for a grant that a certain institution will hear about my cause and help them and give me funds so that I can create my center. No, go find clients that will be willing to pay for that. So that, in a longer run, you go study you go study, political science, you go study law, you go study psychology, you go study technology or IT. All of us now think of how we can bring these individual things that we learn in a business way, so that 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, when we will actually be the generation that the young people are looking at and say, you guys ruined our country, you guys ruined our continent. So you actually will be the guys that will be saying,
Yeah.
no, 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 we didn't ruin. We created business, gave people jobs so that we
Yeah.
can own and control the wealth. And
Sure.
when you own and control the wealth, you own and control the power and decision making, hopefully for the better.
Thanks.
That's how
Thanks.
we
Yeah.
flip that around in a nutshell. This is
Right.
the whole concept.
So go own the wealth, own the capital, own the politics.
It's about owning and controlling.
Then you control, command and control. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then probably next
Good.
time we'll break down on what that
Yes.
owning and controlling looks like. Let me just give you a heads up on what it's going to look like. Owning and control is about you working for a business, for a company, but you asking yourself questions like, how do I, I pay my phone bills every month. How do I invest probably a slight amount of money to
Mhm.
own 0.00001% of that company so that I can be one of the shareholders if it's an open market.
Absolutely. Looking ahead.
Yeah, this is what we'll be talking about in our future sessions, though.
Right. Thank you, Bright, for the wonderful submissions. Before we end the session, I want to hear from the audience. Is there any question, contribution, a mind-striking idea? So you have the floor. It's your time now. I can see Patrick, Rujeje, Herita, Mona. Yeah. Okay, Herita. And later, then Herita raised the hand. You have the floor.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that was a very amazing speech. It was very motivational. I really liked it. And also, my question is, most of our problems in Africa, like it's region based. So, for example, East Africans, we share our problems. West Africans, they share their problems. So we have region-based problems. So always business ideas and entrepreneurships, they come from the problems, right? So how can we develop this regional organizations, regional businesses that can go out there and just nail it? Because if we can coordinate throughout the region, it will be easier, more organized. Because rather than developing, for example, I'm in Ethiopia, so rather than working with Ethiopians only, I can work with like Burundi, Rwanda, and a lot of countries out there in East Africa, and West Africans could work together, and together we can come up as Africans. So how can we like tackle those businesses in terms of our regional problems? That's a question, but mostly all the questions are answered, and I really like this session. And thank you.
Thank you, Herita. Another question, I say hand. Mona? Manuel, I think it's the French name. Manoa, right. You can switch on your camera, don't worry. If you want, doesn't hurt.
Yeah, so meanwhile, let me real quick.
You can answer that question as Guy prepares.
How do we make? That's not the right question to ask. The right question to ask is why do we make it? Because if you figure out the why, the how will just flow from there. Because the how is general information. The how is find partners, find people you can collaborate with in Kenya, find people you can collaborate with in Burundi, find people you can collaborate with in that country that you're looking at. And then through collaborating with them, you can become partners. And the win-win partnership, they win from it, you win from it, you expand your brand. And then unfortunately in Africa, there is a certain mindset that if I partner up with someone, they're going to take what I have. And then, we like to make it our way. We like to work hard and then create my own world, create my own wealth, create my own way, excluding everybody else. This is the lie that's the powerful people want you to believe. Let me tell you how powerful people partner. Powerful people start off, or they keep in public the face that they are so harsh competitors. But in the back end, they have a table where they sit and say, okay, cool. You will be owning the southern region. I'll be owning the northern region. And then we can exchange information, we can exchange business so that we can cover the whole country. We can cover the whole country supplying the services that we supply. But let's keep, I can even invest in your business so that you can make it in the south, and I share profit. You invest in my business, you share profits from the northern parts or the eastern parts. But in public, let's show the face that we are the harshest competitors. It is a very dark thing nobody talks about. They show you the face in public that they are harshest competitors. Okay, I give you an assignment. Go learn about how the Federal Reserve in America was created. The Federal Reserve in America literally owns the currency and owns the money they print and whatever. Go make research about how that was created. It's so funny. You will laugh. So these people literally, there was a group of people who were competitors who were in the same industry, came together in secret, created the Federal Reserve with the vision one day that this is going to be the institution that will literally regulate everything that has to do with the money. So you look at the Federal Reserve right now, you think that's a government institution. No, the government is just one partner of that private institutions that was made up by businesses. These are so crazy informations here. I can be censored. I can be, I can fear for my life and stuff. These are not public information. So when you learn about that, you will learn how partnership works. So you want to go in another country? Yeah, find people there. But the why do you want to go there? Is it just because we want to see on social media that your product is in a certain country? Or the why is actually because you say, for example, in my country, you may say, for example, there is this regional problem or internal tribalism problem. Why don't I find a partner from the other tribe and then come and start a business together? And guess what it will do to you? You will get 100% clients from the people from his tribe. I'll get 100% of people from my tribe. Next thing, we find another partner from another tribe. We create something together. And before you know it, we're already covering everybody. Because everybody that will come in relation with our business will be like, oh, there is my brother, there is my sister, there is a person from my group. You can start doing that first of all on the micro level before you think about jumping in a different country. And then this,
Thank you.
the why you do that, that's how you solve the problem.
Yeah, sure. And there's a lot of things. There are a lot of things going on the continent, and I don't know if people are familiar with the African Free Continental Trade Treaty.
Yeah.
STS. So I think it's starting effective in January 2021. So they're going to be free movement of goods and people. And that's to me is a game changer. So if you have products in Ethiopia, can sell them in West Africa, and West Africa can, without too much tariffs like before. Because Africans do business with the West than the Africans themselves. So that's kind of funny. It's harsh reality.
Yeah.
It is a game changer for people who are already thinking futuristically, but it is a game changer in a negative way for people who are just limited to their own region, because before you know it, somebody will supply the exact same you will be competing now with a continent, which is going to be so hard because somebody from a different country will come sell the exact same product in your country at the price that is lower than yours. And guess what? Lots of businesses will die. Lots of entrepreneurs will go out of business because somebody with more resources, capital, and much more energy and persistence from a different country will come sell their product in their country. So it is a wake-up call, but unfortunately, nobody's waking people up on the idea that, on the fact that it is going to be a huge game changer, positively for some people and way too negatively
of course.
for others as well.
Of course, in business, there are winners and minor losers, but as development policies to find an equilibrium. Well, losers are not too much at a loss, and profits, it's striking a balance. But
it's a very good thing. Don't take me wrong.
Winner takes it all anyhow. Any other question, contribution before we call it a day? Shouldn't be like a lecture, it should be like more dialogue.
They're afraid to be censored.
Like
that's why they don't turn their cameras on.
Becomes like a lecture, becomes like a church sermon, like hallelujah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if there is no, I hope people enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much, Bright, for sharing your very good stuff, for sure. And I hope people will take away like creating demand and supply as a source of business should be stated. Like, what is that real business are you looking for? Does it have demand or supply? So that's number two. Number three is people should broaden their perspective of business and see invest in agriculture, because in Africa specifically, there's 60% of the Arab land uninterrupted, just fertile like that. Someone would wonder, why would people with big lands die of hunger? It's a shame, you know. But most people think that the elite business is to go shop in China, shop in Hong Kong, shop in some. So there should be a mindset shift. Even the person, the PhD, you can go to agriculture, because that's where the potential of money, and it's a multi-billion business. So let's change mindset, and until next time, we'll be back with business ideas, and you know, let's want to see our continent grow. It's a big, someone say that joining from Rwanda. Oh, thank you. Yeah, for sure, it's a wake-up call. Thank you, Ariane. It's a wake-up call. So thank you, everyone. Coach Bright, Kudus, Herita, Ange, Ariane, and Jacqueline. Thank you very much. Have a very beautiful Sunday. Don't forget to follow us. I think our handles are in the chat box. Check it out. We are all at social medias. Though Bright was hitting on social media, for us, we are there to engage. We are not slaying at all.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm glad that you're not.
They are not slaying. We don't have caption that somewhere in Africa or somewhere in the world, you know. Yeah. So any closing remarks, Bright? If you have a
yeah, follow African Rebirth. Part 2 is next Sunday. I will communicate the hours. And if you want to get in touch with me personally, because we shared general information, but probably doesn't apply to you individually, and then through African Rebirth as well, you can get my contacts through Enoch as well, and that on social media. Probably this recording will be shared as well, so that people can follow. So, you know, go there, you know, request to them. You'll get my contact information. Would love to look into your individual situation, what it looks like, and we'll offer, you know, exit ways to help you break through. Thank you very much for the invite. Yeah.
Everyone have a beautiful Sunday. I guess
you too.
Night. Those are at home, East Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Much love.